ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to my channel for another Star Wars 1/6 scale figure unboxing and review video. And today, finally, we're going to be taking a look at what is widely regarded as the best C-3PO ever made in this scale. Now, it took me years of searching to finally find one at the right price. Unfortunately, I don't have any links in the description to help you find this guy. You're literally just going to have to go hunting at toy shows on eBay, and fingers crossed you're going to be able to snag one. This was made by Bandai Tamashii Nations in collaboration with Sideshow back in the day. Now, if you do like seeing 1/6 scale reviews, why not hit that subscribe and bell notification icon so you're notified as soon as brand new content goes live on the channel. What we are going to do now though is get the box laying flat in the light box and do the unboxing. Here of course we have the box art, and it's oh so classy. An image of C-3PO's face front and center done in this gorgeous metallic gold, his name on the side done in chrome silver, which is a very nice touch. That's of course meant to homage his one silver leg. The other side has the same thing except done in gold. Around back you have Star Wars, C-3PO, and then a bunch of logos, including Sideshow and Bandai Tamashii Nations. Now you may be sitting there thinking, well Justin, why on earth is this figure the best C-3PO on the market? I've been eyeing the Sideshow one, and isn't that just as good? Well, you're about to find out why. On the inside flap, we do have an image of C-3PO's belly, and you can flip that open to reveal the droid himself. The reason why this guy is a grail of sorts is because he is full diecast, which means he is extremely heavy and extremely reflective. First in-hand impressions are super positive. I am loving the way this guy looks and feels in hand. Now, of course, we do have one foam block with another tray down below. So what we are going to do now is get all of his accessories laid out in the light box and take a closer look and everything he comes with. Here we have all the parts and pieces. Now, starting off with the display base first, it's simple yet very classy. Up top, you do have some lines and details sculpted in. C-3PO done in a vacuum metallized gold chrome around the front. But this piece around the back is the thing that catches my eye the most. It's of course a stark white. This is a small sliver of the Tantive 4 hallway. I absolutely love that they've included this, but if you don't want it there, you can simply remove it. And there's not really a big unsightly peg, just a small crevice. You also have a real metal rod and a regular waist clamp. Now, he doesn't come with a ton of stuff, but the two accessories he does come with are very scene-specific. You do, of course, get his restraining bolt, which is magnetic, so you will see it magnetized onto him a little bit later on. You also get the droid collar, which is very small, so do be careful not to lose it. They are both painted in a nice flat silver. You do get a full array of C-3PO hands. Some detail has been sculpted into the palm, and the gold for that detail is different as compared to the vacuum metallized chrome, both on C-3PO and the rest of the hands. They are also insanely detailed and very reflective. Lastly, you do get this little doohickey right here. This is used to remove the batteries from C-3PO's head sculpt. You will see his eyes lit up a little bit later on. What we are going to do now though is get C-3PO himself out here and take a closer look. Here we have him standing straight up and down in the light box, no crazy poses or accessories or anything like that, and this guy looks incredible. incredible. I am so glad I decided after all these years to track this guy down and add him to the collection. The gold finish is a sight to behold. I don't even think the camera is doing it justice. It's something you need to see in person. And that's going to become even more apparent when we compare him to the Sideshow one. It's a darn shame that number one, this guy is super hard to get, and number two, it doesn't seem like Hot Toys is ever going to give us a C-3PO. So as it stands, this guy might be your only option for number one, a full diecast figure, but also one that's fully chrome and looks as good as this guy does. What we are going to do now though is take him off the rotating turntable, punch in and take a closer look at the details. Here we have him up close and personal. Now if you weren't already convinced that this is the best 1/6 scale C-3PO ever made, sit down and buckle up because you're about to be. First of all, as we discussed earlier, he is metal from head to toe. Yes, that includes his head sculpt. It is made of diecast and it's extremely heavy. His LEDs are currently turned on and they look great. The batteries that this guy uses are surprisingly big. That, I hope, means that they're going to last a little bit longer than something like a Hot Toys Iron Man figure, because he does look way better with the LEDs turned on. Now his head sculpt is fully detailed all the way round, and it is done in this vacuum metallized chrome. But it's not just straight chrome, they have done a bit of a matte finish over the top, so he's not too shiny. You can also see a ton of little details, including the pin up the top of his head sculpt there. Do be careful because that feels a little fragile. The same thing can be said for these ones along the front. They are actually separate pieces. Now I do have his restraining bolt magnetized in place. It only goes in that one specific spot. Make sure you are reading the instructions. It will tell you where everything is supposed to go. Now moving on to his arms. Initially I thought he'd get maybe that range of motion, because just like the Sideshow one, he has real telescoping moving pistons. But no, the arms go all the way down. That is an incredible range of motion out of a joint that can't have been easy to engineer. It's literally blowing my mind at how good that looks and how good that works. I am super impressed. Now for the wire section, they could have gone the Sideshow route and pre-sculpted this, but they didn't. These are all individual moving wires, and they are all of course different colors. That extends all the way around the back, and yes, these wires are individual and movable as well. That is some next level attention to detail. I am super impressed with how they've done that, and because it is a separate piece, you still do get a fairly decent range of motion out of a figure that you'd think would be relatively static. Now, coming down to his legs, you do have silver on one side and gold chrome on the other, and around the back, there is actually some asymmetrical sculpting. This side is sculpted differently to the other. That is something that I didn't even know was a thing, but the instruction manual let me know, hey, this is what we've done. It's accurate, and yeah, it looks great. You also have these mini pistons on the outside. Just be careful as they feel relatively fragile as well. I mean, they are made of metal, so they're not super thin and breakable, but they are a separate overhanging piece. Now, for the most part, as I said, this I think is the best 1/6 scale C-3PO you can buy. The only complaint that some people have had is that he is very clean. For me, this is going to be the C-3PO at the ceremony at the end of A New Hope, where he's pristine and shiny. Or he could work as potentially a prequel C-3PO. Now, if you want a fully weathered and dirtied up one, the Sideshow one is still a great option. Before we move on, I wanted to address something I discovered in the instruction manual. As you can see, apparently you can fully break down your C-3PO into multiple different parts and pieces. So technically, if you did want to have him scattered around your display with his arm in one spot and his head in another, you can absolutely do that. So I thought, why not try it? I'm not going to lie, this was pretty daunting. I was worried about scuffing up the paint when I was removing certain parts and pieces, and of course about breakage. But if you take your time, you're going to be fine. The joints are very sturdy. They're actual metal connections that hook in place, and once you remove them, they will be very easy to reinstall. And now that I have him separate, I could technically display him like this in the collection. Maybe an Ugnaught will be reassembling him or tearing him apart, or I could pop him in a net and have him on Chewbacca's back. The options are endless, but the fact that you can break him apart is a very nice touch. Now for a quick side-by-side comparison, here we have the Bandai C-3PO on the left and the Sideshow version on the right. And as you can see, the Sideshow version is a little bit taller. They both also have their eye lights on with brand new batteries each, and the Sideshow lights are just a lot more dim. Granted, I love the fact that you can simply touch the back of his head sculpt and the eyes turn on. It's a really nice feature, but they are a lot dimmer. You can also see that the gold finish is quite different. It's a little bit more rich, but it's also a lot darker. You do have a ton of washers and weathering on the surface. Some people don't love that and some people do. I like both of these guys equally, but if I had to pick one over the other finish-wise, I would definitely go with Bandai. That proper gold chrome metal is actual real metal, so you simply can't beat it, at least in my mind. Now, the pistons on the arms are a lot bigger on Bandai's. That's because they are real working pistons. The Sideshow ones do move up and down, so technically they do still work like I said earlier, but they don't quite work in the same way. Now, it is going to be down to personal preference which one you prefer, but at the end of the day, you do have two 1/6 scale C-3POs to choose from. Now for arguably one of the most important comparisons, here we have the Hot Toys R2-D2. Now, this is the R2 from episode 7, but the reason I picked him is because it's the one I have in my original trilogy display. He's a little bit more weathered, and that's just the look I prefer. Now, Bandai also have a full diecast R2, and I'm very tempted to pick that up. Do let me know if you'd like to see a review on him down in the comments below. I did want to give you a point of reference for a human-sized figure, so why not Return of the Jedi Luke? And as you can see, C-3PO is taller, but I'm perfectly fine with that. Mark Hamill isn't the tallest dude in the world, so with C-3PO being a little bit taller, I'm perfectly happy. Now, the Sideshow one, don't forget, is even taller than this Bandai one, so if the height of this one is bothering you, then technically the Sideshow one will as well. Now, this review would not be complete without a patented Budget Stark weight test. Now, starting off with a Hot Toys diecast Iron Man figure being the Mark 7. He comes in at a very respectable 987 grams. He is widely regarded as one of the heaviest Iron Man figures. Moving on to the Sideshow collectible C-3PO, he comes in at 262 grams, so quite a lot lighter. As for the Bandai Tamashii Nation C-3PO, he comes in at 984 grams. Very close to the Hot Toys diecast Mark 7, so if you know what he feels like in hand, then you have a pretty good idea of how heavy this C-3PO is going to be. Just going over articulation. Now, bear in mind, this is my personal copy of the figure, so I'm going to be a little bit more careful. I'm sure when you get yours in hand, you can push the joints slightly further than I am willing to go. Now, starting off with the head sculpt, it is on a ball joint, looking forward and back, swivel, and a ton of pivot side to side. The arms are articulated underneath this shoulder pad. Going out to there, they do rotate on a ratchet joint that actually includes this shoulder pad. They will go the full way round. You do have a swivel up under there as well, a double bend at the elbow that gets a surprisingly large range of motion. Now, these pistons, as we discussed earlier, are real and they do work. You do have a ball joint for the wrist peg. The torso does crunch forward and back up top and down below underneath the wire section, swivel and pivot side to side. The legs are going to be the most restricted. You don't really get any range going forward and back. You do have swivel, and they do go out to the side just a little. You do have a single bend on ratchets at the knee, and of course a ball peg down here for the ankle. Just wrapping up on the Diecast 1/6 scale C-3PO by Bandai Tamashii Nations in collaboration with Sideshow. Now at the end of the video, I can say unequivocally, this is the best C-3PO in 1/6 scale that I have ever seen. It is truly awesome. The heft of him being full metal is something that you have to experience in person. The same thing can be said for the finish. It's shiny, but also kind of matte at the same time. It looks really accurate. The gold is a nice soft gold. It's not too in your face, and then you of course have the silver right leg, which is also accurate. Now he doesn't come with a ton of stuff, his display base isn't the most exciting thing in the world, and he's C-3PO. Some of you might have C-3PO ranked up there as your favorite character in all of Star Wars. But for me, he just doesn't rank that highly, and that's another reason why it took me so long to eventually pick this guy up. But now he's finally here, I have no regrets whatsoever. Now unfortunately, I would love to be able to tell you that there's a link in the description, but there simply isn't. This guy is long since sold out and very hard to find, so if you do want one, you're going to have to go hunting, just like I did. If you are heading down to the description, why not check out the link to 6 Scale Network, the Facebook group. Come along, chat figures, share photos of your collection, and of course, see what's coming up next on the channel. Like, comment, and subscribe, and we'll catch you in the next video.